light is part of everything we do, either light or the absence of it, and yet it's something that people really don't know a great deal about. We're configuring light. We have a research group at the London School of Economics, Department of Sociology in King's College, London, and we are unique in being a research group entirely focused on studying light and lighting in public space. We want to understand how light impacts people. We also want to improve the social knowledge base of designers and other lighting professionals who work with light and often need much deeper understanding of the places that they're intervening in. We've come to Brandon to work with Southwark Council as part of their Great Estates program.
It's a 4-year program being resident-led so that residents can tell us what type of improvements they want to see on their estates.
This is an estate with a very complex history. So there are many kinds of connections and forms of communication.
We are interested to learn about the kinds of people on an estate and the diversity of people that live in a place. We don't really start with light, we start with where do they live, where do they go, what do they do, and then light just filters into that conversation really.
I've lived on the estate for 34 years. I've loved every minute of living here.
Good people, nice people, and we love each other.
Well, there's more decent people than there is villains, let's put it that way.
I think it can be quite an intimidating place if you don't know it. But having said that, once we started to get involved in the TRA and met lots more people, then it feels a lot friendlier. It's a real mix of people that get involved in the gardening club, because there's some younger people who've never done gardening before, but then there's also people like Bill, who I think is in his 80s and has been gardening on this estate his entire life.
So you can see that there's plenty of stuff been put in, so people are interested in using it and doing it.
So it's been really nice to have an environment where those people get together, because that doesn't happen very often.
And what's the estate feel like at night? How does it feel walking around in the...
It's not too bad actually. Well, I don't mind walking about, but I mean, I don't know about girls, young girls, I don't know.
I never feel unsafe on the estate when it's light, but when it gets darker, I don't know how much we're going to be out around the vegetable garden.
We have had a few issues, and they've been serious issues.
Brandon 3 has developed a reputation for antisocial behavior and other issues.
I was hearing the siren, ambulances, police, all day. I said, then I come out, I said, what is going on? It was winter time. Yeah, everywhere is dark. I went round the corner there, then I saw the boy on the floor, but unfortunately, we lost him. Oh, it was a terrible, terrible, terrible day. I have the memory in my head all the time. When I sleep, I remember.
We had to shame the council to say not one of our council representatives had come down to see how anybody was on the estate. We hadn't had the police come down, there was no victim or counselling or support or anything. There was still blood on the ground.
I mean, the response to the stabbings and shooting incidents was, on the residents' part, was to demand higher levels of lighting and CCTV cameras, as well as blocking some of the paths so there couldn't be high-speed chases. A man from the council, to whom the bench behind me is dedicated, came to work with them to inspect the lighting and then put in some rather brutal lights from our point of view. The point, though, was that he cared and everyone recognized that he cared. Putting in bright lights, whether we agree or disagree with that strategy as a lighting strategy, was a sign of care and response.
The brighter the better. I think the brighter it is, people in the past thought, the safer it will be. When we're talking about lighting in meetings and things like that, it's either if something's happened and you just want a bright light to shine in that area, or if you're trying to stop something from happening.
I mean, one of the things we find when we're speaking to members of the public, when we're speaking to housing providers and councils, is they have a very limited understanding of what light is about, what it can do. They tend to speak in terms of brightness, whether the light is bright or dim. And on that polarity, and that they're always going to say, we want more light, we want brighter lights, without understanding that if you whack in a bright light here, you're going to have a pool of darkness here. And you have a problem when you install very bright lights of extreme contrast, because our eyes can't adjust very easily. So actually, very bright lights in public space often can make a space feel less safe.
There are these street lighting columns with 3 heads, not 2, 3 heads. They're like little aliens. And the light level that you have just around the column is really high. And then suddenly you end up in this kind of dark bits. The problem of bulkheads is that they don't have an optic. So, I mean, what you can see is that they just spread lighting everywhere with no control. I mean, the bulkheads have been the same bulkheads since the 60s. You know, everything went on in terms of design, technology, and if you look at the bulkhead, maybe now they are LED bulkheads, but they're still the same kind of fixture that we have in the 60s. It's about the lack of care and the lack of value to what they do, because they're working on a social housing estate, because they would never do that in another residential housing. They would never do that.
One of the things we were able to do in Brandon, with the support of the council, was actually to change a space through very simple but very effective lighting design.
Sadr Council appointed us to do the lighting design for this specific square because it's actually close to the garden where the murder happened, and is also a place where people didn't feel very confident to walk through. The lighting before was the usual you can find on social housing estates, so big floodlights and very high contrast. So they were very glary and very also white color. We wanted to create a much lower lighting level, but with a better uniformity for people to walk through, and as well to give a bit of joy to the place. We changed all the lighting bulbs. They are warm LED, and then we add some spotlighting to the trees that are basically invisible in reality, but they light very well the path. Now, when the people came out, as soon as the lighting was installed, they say, "Oh, this is much better, it's much brighter." In reality, it was obviously 50% less bright than before, but because of the festive atmosphere, and as well the quality of lighting, and as well the color rendering and the uniformity, it was perceived much brighter and much safer.
I mean, the lights in Grimsel Path are beautiful now, and you feel really good walking through there, it's so light.
It's given us an opportunity to start reclaiming back our estate.
It give happiness, joy to us. Nobody can hide anywhere there. Nobody can do anything.
So to have something that was much more softer and it's got more atmosphere about it, yeah, it was lovely. Whenever I go through there now, I always see people lingering, and at first I'm like, why are they lingering? Do they live on the estate? Are they walking through? Are they up to no good? And now it's because they're just taking their time, and you've got them going all different paths now.
We done a party there a few years ago, didn't we? And it was such a shame because once it started to get a little bit dark, you felt like you had to start packing up. But it would have been so much nicer with the lights. You know, we would have been out there all night.
There have been evenings where people have been hanging out here, drinking wine or, playing little games until after dark, which would definitely never have happened without these lights here. And it's not that the estate was dark before, there were really big street lights everywhere, but that kind of lighting doesn't make you feel safe either.
The problem with social housing lighting is that if they just speak to function about crime reduction, it doesn't send that message of care. Not only does the place not feel attractive, but it does mark a place out as a problem. So aesthetics should be part of the way we think about how we care and how we show that a place is valued and cared for.
I didn't know that there was other types of lighting, not other types of look and feel of lighting available. I think it's the understanding of what more is available out there. And I think once you do a pilot on what you can actually do and see, I think other councils will actually introduce that as well. So I think that makes a big difference.